While people were ecstatic and hyping up Kanguva after looking at its teaser and trailer and its sheer ambition, the Tamil subscribers kept on reminding me to limit my expectations. They kept on telling me that they don't doubt Surya, but that it all depends on whether Siva can pull it off, especially looking at his filmography and track record. So, did he pull off to make a fantasy folklore masterpiece? Mokka poda de. It is an understatement when I say that loyal Tamil cinema fans really root for the box office success and return of Surya on the big screen. While it is debatable on what was his last hit in theatres, some claiming it to be Singham 2 in 2013 and some claiming it to be 24 in 2016, but the audience genuinely rooting for his box office comeback is palpable, especially when you look at the brilliant stories he has featured in post the pandemic, which include Suriya Potru, Jai Bhim, and his insane cameo in Vikram. Kanguva has gone through production hell for quite a few years, with multiple release delays as well, but it is finally here. The marketing of the film has only alluded to the plot without really spilling it out for us, so I'll also try to keep it as vague as possible. The film focuses on two timelines. One is in the present and the year 1070. In the present, we have Surya playing the role of Francis Theodore, who is accompanied by his team member Yogi Babu, who are rivals with Disha Patani and Redin Kingsley, all four playing the role of modern-day bounty hunters who get contracts to nab criminals by the police. Francis finds himself crossing paths with someone that gives him flashbacks of a life lived in the past, aka the life of Kanguva in the tribe of Perumachi. The screenplay of the film presents a back and forth between the two eras, a bloody battle in history that includes tribes, pride, backstabbing, imperialist forces, and an ultimate face-off. And in the present, a mission at hand that makes Francis realize the stakes are far more important than he originally assumed. Here's me telling you the good and bad aspects of the film so that you guys can ultimately decide whether to watch Kanguva in theatres or not. The good. Cinematography and ambition. I genuinely root for films that try something out of the ordinary. In an industry that is risk averse and is mostly dependent on IPs that bank on nostalgia and joint universes that allow for recall value, someone going out on the limb to present a rebirth story that deals with two timelines, one of a warrior and the other of a modern bounty hunter, from the concept alone, you know it's a daunting task. And I really commend that from a risk creative standpoint. When you see the film and its frames, there is absolutely no doubt about the fact that it is meant to be watched on the big screen. You'll see frames of this film, wide shots with so many extras that it actually makes you wonder about the sheer investment in this project. While the film and its saturation, in my opinion, was far too much, where the prominent colors of orange and blue almost seem to give an artificial aesthetic to its natural surroundings, the ambition and scale still remains intact, especially when dealing with the battle among the five islands. The cinematography by Vetri Palnisamy is to be really commended, especially in portions that include Kanguva and Udiran's introduction, where the film lacks in its storytelling, emotional resonance, and especially pitch. It more than compensates with its scale and visuals. That's what breaks your heart about most Indian films that are trying to do something ambitious. You can see the vision in every frame, but had they spent more time in really making the screenplay compelling, it would have just been the perfect package. Kanguva is sadly far from it. Surya and spurts of technical brilliance. If there is to be a silver lining in Kanguva, it has to be 100% the commitment of Surya as an actor. The man literally leaves no stone unturned in fully diving deep into the role of a warrior with a soft heart. The brilliance of an actor like Surya is that while he is medium built in physical stature, in real life, he has such a towering presence in front of camera, actually coming across as someone you will be intimidated by in the line of battle. This will easily go down as one of those performances where an actor can only do so much in order to elevate a subpar film. There are also a few moments of cinematic brilliance that give you a glimmer of hope, especially regarding the staging and presentation of the heroes and villains. However, they are dispersed so few and far between that it only breaks your heart that such quality was not consistent in the film. This includes Kanguva's introduction and the background music composed by DSP, the war cry dance number prior to Kanguva going in the line of battle that has hundreds of extras filling up the screen, Arathi and how it is presented as the land covered with blood. There is so much potential of Kanguva, the film, that actually breaks my heart. Because I can imagine it to be so exciting on paper, but the way it's squandered in its screenplay and editing truly lets it down, and specifically Surya's efforts as an actor. The underwhelming aspects. Cringe comedy sequences. I will never understand the need for filmmakers to have cringe comedy sequences that carry on for the first 30 minutes of the film because it assumes that the audience will laugh hysterically. Especially for a film like Kanguva, that honestly could have just been a stand-alone fantasy epic versus a hot mess of a resurrection story. The film with its present day portions is really tough to sit through, and it genuinely seems dated in its execution of pitch, probably owing to how long the film has been in production. Literally, the money being offered by the police to the bounty hunters is a stack of 2000 rupee notes. The meme references that are used as gags in the film, like Moe Moe and the boys sound effect, are literally what was trending 2 years ago. Redin Kingsley and Yogi Babu are reduced to one terrible gag after the other that extracted nothing but crickets in theatres. The only purpose of Disha Patani in the film, honestly, is to look good in a bikini in the song YOLO, that anyway has no place in the storyline. The present day sequences of Kanguva waste so much time of this film to get to its point that it makes me conclude that it could have heavily benefited from being a standalone fantasy film set in 1070, because the present day scenario, the villain, and the technology he is working with don't even have the slightest bit of excitement or interest within you. The way the characters are styled and the way they interact with each other genuinely gave dated boomer energy, making me conclude that the phenomena of filmmakers playing catch up to what is cool today is consistent within all industries. Films and actors were the trendsetters back in the day, but seem like old, out of touch, middle-aged people, and this will especially hold true for when you see every present day sequence of Goa in Kanguva. Decibel level Pro Max. I kid you not when I say that nobody in this film talks at a respectable decibel level. Everything is either loud or intended to crack a bad joke. I understand that the characters of the past are to be representative of more animalistic tendencies, grunting, shouting, and decimating their enemies almost as instinct, but the amount of shouting is almost deafening in this film. Like many other commercial films we complain about, there is no dialogue, there are announcements. And Kanguva, assisted by DSP's loud background score, just becomes screeching orchestra at one point. Even Surya, who is the most dependable in the film, can be seen stressing his neck muscles, screaming at the top of his lungs not only when he addresses his tribe, but even when it is regular conversation. I thought my ears had experienced it all when I sat for Veera Simha Reddy and Taman's BGM had ripped even the PVR sound system. Kanguva takes the decibel to a whole new level indeed. There is not a single moment where characters are not screaming, so you have been warned. It can really test your patience, especially as the second half creeps in and the shouting to dialogue ratio just seems completely out of place. Lack of emotional resonance and problem with action. The biggest issue with a film like Kanguva is that it takes the shape of becoming a montage of action set pieces versus a cohesive story that you have an emotional resonance with. The filmmaker attempts to create an emotional bond between Kanguva and a young child, and it's a combination of, I don't want to be harsh, but lack of range of the poor kid and the incoherent writing and the editing pattern that barely makes you care for their union. There is the Roman Empire that is trying to create rifts within the islands. You know, the typical divide and rule tactics. You've got Bobby Deol as the king with the chip on his shoulder. But all of these characters end up becoming caricatures versus villains for the ages. Bobby Deol has an intimidating look, yes, but his motivation is so basic that it ends up being like any other goon that Kanguva deals with. The biggest problem, however, why Kanguva does not soar to become a pan-Indian spectacle that will be remembered for years is its choppy editing pattern of its action sequences that do sharp cutaways from the blows to the enemies to random shots of characters screaming. So the action sequences lack a fluidity in choreography and just become a montage of random frames of enemies getting hit, and it's straight cutting into characters screaming to the screen. This causes for many of the set pieces that include an action set piece in a fog-covered forest, Kanguva using the elements of nature to combat the villain, or this heavily dependent CGI battle on water that seem solid on paper but absolutely falter in execution because, as I previously said, it's just blows to the villains and random screaming and shouting that at one point just tests your patience. I feel like Siva does a disservice to his own film by complicating it way more than it needed to be. The resurrection angle of Kanguva just seemed forced, and the film would have benefited immensely from a laser-focused approach on the rifts caused by imperialists among the islands in 1070. The film promises for a sequel and for this back and forth between the present day and the past to continue, but after the 100th random scream to the screen, I really confess I can't go through 2.5 hours more of this saga. My ears have suffered enough. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about Kanguva. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the handle is right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.